All right, I am going to call our Monday, April 5th, Common Council meeting to order. Elissa, will you please take the roll?
Pash,
Here.
Went,
Here.
Ritten,
Here.
Bartz,
Here.
Holthouse,
Here.
Wagner,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Wetzel,
Here.
Kilps.
Here. Thank you. And if you all would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Our next item then is the minutes of the council meeting for March 16th. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of those minutes? All right, seeing none, we will go to comments and suggestions from citizens present. Do you have anything? Mr. Romline, were you looking to comment at all? Okay. All right. And I don't see anyone online. That's just the general public. Okay, we don't have any public hearings. The next item then is committee reports. We have Plan Commission from March 22nd, and then the joint meeting of the Finance and Public Works Committee from March 22nd. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of those minutes? All right. We have no old business, so the next item is communications and recommendations, and the first is a presentation to the outgoing alderperson, Alderperson Kilps. Alderperson Kilps, if you wouldn't mind, would you like to join me at the front? You don't have to. No? Okay. Well, then I will recite what we have here. So we have the Distinguished Service Award that we're presenting to Alderperson Kilps from the 9th District from April 2017 to April of 2021 in recognition of your years of dedicated service to the citizens of Watertown. This is presented by myself and the Common Council to you. And it says, there's no greater challenge and there's no greater honor than to be in public service. So I will pass this to you at the end of the meeting. We thank you for your years of service. All right. The next item then is appointments. We have the poll worker appointment that is listed in your packet. Is there a motion on that one?
Motion.
Motion by Wetzel.
I'll second.
Second by Ritten. Any commentary? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Next then is the library annual report. That is in your packet for your reference. And then we have the COVID-19 update. And Carol is on deck today, so Carol, give me just 1 second. Carol, I do like it in the PDF style. Just, this works much easier than a PowerPoint, so thank you. Go ahead, Carol.
Be muted.
Sorry about that. Just trying to the mute, but I thought it would be helpful for the different style. So to date, we have given a total of 5,057 doses of COVID vaccine. Of that, we've given 3,674 first doses and 1,383 second doses. We continue to work with our local providers, which our vaccinating providers in our community continues to expand. We have additional pharmacies on since I last spoke to you. We have additional providers that are giving vaccines as well. We continue to give the Moderna vaccine, which is a 2-dose series separated by 28 days. And it is for individuals 18 years of age and older. We expect to be getting some Johnson & Johnson, the Janssen vaccine, and we will be having a clinic once we have enough of that vaccine to provide in a clinic setting. And that vaccine is a 1-dose series, which is beneficial for a lot of individuals, especially our homebound individuals, and we have a plan to vaccinate those individuals once the vaccine becomes more available. I just wanted to bring back, I keep getting questions about side effects from the vaccine. I have a list here of the side effects that are expected from the vaccine and the percentage of individuals that experienced any one of these side effects. These are expected. anything outside of this, unusual side effects or more severe, certainly we would be reporting those side effects through the Federal Registry for Side Effects. Are there any questions about that? I know that there had been, and I just wanted to address that with you all again. Okay, we can continue. Today, vaccine eligibility opened up to everyone 16 years of age and older. Currently in the United States, the only vaccine that is approved for individuals that are 16 and 17 is the Pfizer vaccine. We have not received any of that vaccine, and I don't expect that we will, but I do have community providers that are getting Pfizer vaccine, so I'm working closely with them to refer individuals that are 16 and 17 years of age that are interested and want to get the vaccine. All other individuals are eligible to get the vaccine, and we continue to hold clinics for them as well as other vaccinators. I believe I talked about this a little bit the last time I met with you, but I wanted to just remind everybody and to clarify any questions about fully vaccinated activities that individuals can safely engage in. So if an individual is fully vaccinated, that means they've received either 2 vaccines of the Pfizer and the Moderna, or 1 of the Johnson & Johnson, and at least 14 days have passed, but not more than 90 days have passed. So that is a fully vaccinated individual. And if you're fully vaccinated, you can visit with other fully vaccinated people indoors without wearing masks or physical distancing. You can visit with unvaccinated people from a single household who are all at low risk for severe COVID disease indoors without wearing face mask or physical distancing. And if you have an exposure to an individual that tests positive to COVID, you do not have to quarantine. You should monitor your symptoms. If you become symptomatic, then you should be tested. And with every conversation we have, we should continue to follow our public health practices to continue to control the spread of the disease, which includes wearing a face mask, physical distancing, and getting the vaccine when it's available. So to date, our COVID numbers, our case numbers, we've had 14,726 total case investigations, 11,708 not a case, 2,588 total confirmed cases, 2,538 have been resolved. We have 50 active cases. We have had 169 probable cases, 209 suspect cases. We have 52 open contacts. 3.9% of our positives have been hospitalized, and we've had 51 deaths.
41.
Oh, excuse me, 41. Thank you. And then the age distribution of cases, both probable, which is yellow color, and then the confirmed cases, which is green. And as a reminder, probable are individuals who fit the case definition and have had a close contact, but have not had a lab test to confirm. They were diagnosed by a provider.
That's the last slide.
Yep.
All right. Questions or comments for Carol?
Hey, Carol, Alder Pash here. Just a quick question. I've always been curious, and you may not have the information on this, but 14,000 suspected cases and roughly 20-some hundred confirmed. With the absence of the seasonal flu, what do you have any data on what the prevalent illness was if it wasn't COVID? Is it just seasonal viruses, or what? It's a remarkable number of probables relative to confirmed.
Or you mean the, I'm just gonna maybe have the mayor pull up that slide.
Yep.
I think it's the second to last slide.
Yep.
You mean total case investigations?
Yeah, well, and I know it's not super relevant, but I mean, it's amazing there was enough, 14,000 cases where they're symptomatic enough to warrant a test for COVID. In a year when we didn't have the seasonal flu for the most part, was there any data on what those illnesses were predominantly, or was it just a variety of things?
Yeah, it was a variety of things. And I will tell you, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but that number also includes all of the testing that was done at licensed facilities. So each test that's done as a routine, if while the test comes back, we're waiting for the results. Or if there's symptoms, we start to do our case investigation for those individuals. But a variety of respiratory and other types of symptoms that a provider was suspect and ordered a test for an individual. So it was a wide definition, which over this last year, the definition has changed and evolved. And anybody who's seen the list of symptoms, it's very lengthy.
Okay, I figured that. Thank you. Yeah, that just.
Carol, this is Karen Wendt. Could you tell me, has there been anyone that has gotten the COVID more than once?
There have been some individuals that have, yes.
Do you keep track of that, like how many numbers it is, or
We do, yes.
can you tell me how many that is, please?
I don't know right off the top of my head, and it is a small number, so I would not be able to give you a number. I could percentage-wise to total case investigations. It is a small number, and what I would tell you as well, as individuals have had a positive test, and some have had a negative test in between, and then have had a positive test, and unless we're able to do the genome sequencing with each of the tests, the state is not currently changing the definition for reinfection because we're not able to geocode every single swab. That may be coming, and so the definition for reinfection might change a little bit with like everything does with COVID, but I can tell you it is a very small number. But right off the top of my head, I don't know what that is.
But we can provide that to you, Alderperson Wendt. We'll send that.
Okay, thank you.
Others? All right, very good. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so then we have no new business. The next is the accounts payable.
I'll move to pay all accounts.
Motion by Wetzel, second by Schmid. Any commentary, questions? Melissa?
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
Pash,
Aye.
Wendt,
Aye.
Ritten,
Abstain.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
All right, next then we have reports and miscellaneous business. We have the Airport Commission from February 10th and March 10th, the Board of Health from February 11th, the Joint Review Board of March 23rd, the Library Board from February 11th and February 23rd, Park Recreation and Forestry from March 1st, the payroll summary of February 24th to March 9th and March 10th to March 23rd, Redevelopment Authority from March 3rd, the Site Plan Review of March 22nd, and Transit Commission from March 16th. Does anybody have any comments or questions on any of those? All right, then let's go, we have no licenses, so let's go to ordinances. Our first is ordinance 21-17. This is to repeal and recreate Chapter 80 Fire Department of the City of Watertown General Ordinances. This is here from Alderman Schmid and Public Safety on the second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Schmid,
I'll second it.
oh, second by Wagner. Questions, comments? Melissa?
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
Pash,
Aye.
Wendt,
Aye.
Ritten,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
All right, next is ordinance 21-18. This is to repeal and recreate sections of Chapter 303 Fire and Fire Prevention of our city code. This is here again from Alderman Schmidt and Public Safety on the second reading.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Schmidt, second by
Second.
Wetzel. Questions or comments? All right, Alyssa.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
Pash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Britton,
Aye.
Barth,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next then is ordinance 21-19. This is to repeal and recreate, oh, yes, wait, did I just do that one? No, excuse me. This is ordinance 21-19 to repeal and recreate chapter 512, section 34, private fire hydrant service of our city code. This is here from Alderman Pash and Public Works on the first reading.
I'll move to approve.
It's Alder Pash. I'll move to approve.
Motion by Bart, second by Pash. Questions or comments on this one?
Just the hitch.
Sure. So either Craig or Pete, will someone provide just a brief kind of backstory to this change?
Sure, I can. This is Pete.
Go ahead, Pete.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this came about early last year for a proposed development, a small development, where we were reviewing the placement of the water service, water main, fire hydrant and such, and we got to look at our code as it relates to the private fire hydrants, locations of, and responsibility for those. And what we found was that we were not following our code. We weren't uniformly enforcing it, and we had intentions by some property owners to meet the code requirements. However, we found of over our 200 identified private hydrants that none of them met all the requirements of the code. So we wanted to do a reset on the code to determine what makes the best sense for private fire hydrant owners and the water department and the responsibilities of all of these in the city of Watertown. So we met with fire department and had some discussions and took those discussions and finalized them and had city attorney review our proposed changes after we came to an agreement within the city on what we wanted to get out of this and moving forward. What is in front of you is a cleaned up version of what we feel is in the best interest for the city to treat the private fire hydrants. We still have a lot of work to do on our part. We have identified them. We put a layer on our GIS system so that we know where they are. We reached out to a few owners, and we are still trying to document some easements and placements of these hydrants where it looked like the intention was well played out. However, the easements didn't line up properly, so we're going to paint the private hydrants yellow this year. The water department's going to do that, and then we're going to reach out and work with the property owners to make sure they know what's required of them moving forward. And for the water department, we do maintain all of the city hydrants, but we will no longer be maintaining the private hydrants. The property owners will be responsible for those hydrants, just as they are the interior private fire suppression systems. So that's basically a summarized version of what's in front of you.
Thank you, Pete. I think Pete
You're welcome.
covered it pretty well. Craig, you agree? Okay. Any other? He agrees.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, then the ones who are private fire hydrants, they'll be able to maintain them, but just at a cost associated to the individual owner, correct? Or they're gonna have to figure out how to maintain them themselves?
The intention is for the water department to review the requirements of maintaining them with the owners and assisting them along the way. We've already done a lot of work identifying the type of hydrant, the make of the hydrant, and we know of companies that provide parts. A lot of these hydrants are what we consider obsolete for us. It doesn't mean you can't continue to buy parts. So like we treat the private fire protection systems, there's double check valves, and those are required by the state of Wisconsin to be tested annually. And there's a form that the owners have to fill out. So we're going to be putting together a form for these owners and for the city, water department, and more importantly, the fire department, so that we know that the annual maintenance is being performed on these hydrants. So we want to work with all the property owners on this in the beginning. We want to make sure they understand what they need to do. So we don't have any situations where the fire department is not confident of going up to a yellow painted hydrant and hooking up and using it for firefighting purposes. We want to make sure that those hydrants are available to use as they have been intended to, and that is for fire protection.
Okay. So now, is there a mechanism in place with this review of the ordinance and the change moving forward? If the owners no longer want to have them private, to convert them to a public one, is there a mechanism in place to share costs with the owner then, or is that something yet to be determined?
I couldn't fully hear your question. I want to apologize. It sounds a little off the microphone. I don't know how else to describe that. It sounded like your question.
So,
If you could repeat it.
yeah, Pete, the question is, in summary, if someone is currently private and they no longer want to have a private hydrant, they want to come into the city, what is that process like?
Well, that would be something more for Craig to answer. There are certain requirements for the fire code for placements of hydrants. So the city's requirement is every 500 feet. However, we're, for the most part, every 300 feet in the public right-of-way, there's a fire hydrant. So if the private development already has a private fire hydrant, we could run a few scenarios distance-wise. Basically, it comes down to distance for the fire trucks to hook up to. I don't know if, Craig, you want to pick it up right here and explain that. It all depends on the location of the building and their location to another fire hydrant if it's a public fire hydrant. So I guess there is a situation, possibly, if they want to opt out and eliminate that hydrant, as long as they meet all the requirements in the fire code for distances, they would be allowed to do so, I think.
Greg?
Peter is correct on that. The other thing I was looking at too is there is some things that if they didn't want it as a private hydrant and wanted it public, there are certain criteria they'd have to meet by making sure that with easements and the hydrant and those types of things. I think that's what he was getting at with Pete. But
Okay.
for us, what we need is we want to make sure that they do have the adequate fire flow and protection they need for their buildings. And especially if they have a sprinkler system, that the hydrants are in the right place. I wouldn't allow some hydrants to be disconnected if they were what they was needed for the fire flows based off of the size and what's in the building. So for the most part, I don't know if that answered your question. There are some mechanisms in place if they wanted to, but they have to go through a process and be adopted, which, as Pete had said, a lot of them don't meet the current conditions of the hydrants. And for properties or places where hydrants are already in use, we really would want them to keep the hydrants in use and have them maintained. Our biggest thing is we want to make sure that every hydrant is maintained so that when we get there that we're able to confidently know that we'll be able to use that without having any issues for fire flow.
Yeah, that answered it. I was just unaware we had that many private fire hydrants in town, so.
I think this review has brought a lot of awareness about how many there are. So it's a good exercise for us to undertake, and I'm glad we got to this point. Does anyone else have anything on this one? All right, Elissa.
Bartz,
Aye.
Bolthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Ritten,
Aye.
It wouldn't be a meeting without it. All right, next is ordinance 21-20. This is to create a portion of section 500-9 for an A, parking prohibited in specified places of chapter 500 vehicles and traffic of our city code. This is here from Alderman Schmidt and Public Safety on the first reading.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Schmidt. Second by Bartz. Any questions on this one? Alyssa?
Schmid,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
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 Ritten,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Bolthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next, let's go to resolutions. We have two. The first is Exhibit 9199. This is a resolution to enter into a contract with Aurora Healthcare for the services of our Employee Assistance Program. This is here from me and the Finance Committee.
This is Wagner. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Wagner,
I'll second that one.
second by Ritten. This is a budgeted expense. Excited to get this up and running. Any other questions or comments?
Rose, I'm
Can
assuming
someone,
all good?
Yes. We synthesized many versions of edits between Alyssa, Rose, and I. Alderperson,
Mayor? Yes. Can you explain this whole thing to me now? Are the employees paying for this themselves or is the city paying for it?
nope, so this will be funded for our 200 or so employees and their immediate household members for the $4,406. We did budget for it for this year's budget. And what it will provide is a variety of resources. I believe at this one, please don't quote me on 4 or 6, I don't remember where we landed, but it would provide free of charge to our employees and their household members, either up to 4 or up to 6 visits with a mental health provider. It provides access to free wills and Alderperson Wagner, do you have anything to add on this one from your industry? I just know there's a lot.
Usually it's per topic.
Oh, it is? You're right, it is.
And based on looking at the contract, it says 1 to 3 visits. So per topic is free. And then after that, the employee, if they continue to, say, for example, see a physical or like a mental therapist or something along those lines, any visit after the free, they would pay.
Okay, yeah.
Usually it's at a discounted rate, just because they've been working free of charge technically. But that's all dependent on where they go and who they see.
Now, did they provide a copy or recommendations from the resources in the contract of what they would be using and referring people for?
Did they provide a copy?
Of the recommended resources that are going to be provided as part of this?
There's access to a website and a whole series of tools on like a portal.
So like, yeah, that's, okay, I'm just trying to get to understand the basic concept. I'm familiar with the idea, I just want to see how we're being sold this, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
if you go further into the contract, it gives a breakout of like work-life balance services, employee communication, online services.
Yeah, I think we planned on using some even for like performance evaluations, like
Okay.
training options that are in there.
So very similar to what I would do in the Army then for all this stuff then. Okay.
And we baked this into our union contracts as well, right, chiefs? Using an EAP. I think that was in both of the union contracts. Should any type of service be needed, this would be the first place versus us paying out of pocket for certain items.
Mayor, isn't most health insurances have these options that you can use and utilize than to go to a private one?
Alyssa, do you want to? So I would say, I can answer just for I'm not aware of everyone's plans here, but I know that with a lot of these types of services, you would pay, it's not free. You would pay a certain portion up to a certain dollar amount, just like any other medical service. So this would allow 3 visits per topic, per person in your household. Is there anything that you would add that you know of, Alyssa, that differs between? I'm not aware of our health insurance providing a lot of the access to templates and the kind of different tools that are on the
Some of
website.
the other tools, there is mental health coverage, but some of the other tools are
Like-
not provided by health insurance.
That's what I was thinking too. Any other questions on this one? Tom, Mr. Pash.
Hey, quick question. So yeah, I think in my experience, it seems like a great program and the cost seems reasonable. I did notice in the agreement, it is, it's renewed annually and the pricing seems pretty discretionary on the part of Aurora. Do we have any idea what that annualized increase? I know insurance rates can kind of be pretty volatile. Do we anticipate a pretty static year-over-year renewal in terms of cost increase?
No, I think we would re-bid. This is our first kind of dip in the pond.
Okay.
So we haven't provided this benefit in this way before. Is that a bad figure of speech? We've alluded to an employee assistance program in our handbook for many years as I've been, or years before that. And we didn't really provide much. We basically said, here's a phone number, go to this place. This is really our first time. We put this out, I think, to 3 different entities. And Aurora was just the cheapest.
Okay. Well, and the reason I say that, because as long as they don't cook in a bunch of infrastructure that makes you feel compelled to stay. And I think Aurora, I think they do a good job in what I've seen, but
And-
just so they don't put in all this foundation and then say, okay, well, we're going to raise it 30% now because we're all set up.
Yeah, their plan is large, obviously,
Sure.
just with their. So I don't know that there's much infrastructure investing in. I think it's just us just having ports there. But it's year to year, so I think that's the right way to start. People use it, that it works well for us.
Yeah. and something To note when you
Agreed.
talk to the employees, make sure that they know all the information does not come back to
Yeah.
the city. Because that'll be your first freeze moment of most employees, is that they will think that, oh, if I give confidential information about something, it's gonna leak back. Because you do get usage reports, but it just shows that it's being used and in what areas. It
And
doesn't.
de-identified.
Yeah, it shouldn't give any identifying
glad you made that
factors to
point.
it.
That is a good point. Anybody else on this one? All right, Elissa.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Hill, Cash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
Ritten,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next then is Exhibit 9200. This is a resolution to submit the Urban Non-Point Source and Stormwater Management Planning Grant. This is here for me and the Finance Committee.
I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit 9200.
Motion
I'll
by
second.
Ritten, second by Schmid. Any questions on this one? Elissa.
Ritten,
Aye.
Bartz,
Aye.
Holthouse,
Aye.
Wagner,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Wetzel,
Aye.
Kilps,
Aye.
Pash,
Aye.
Went,
Aye.
All right, next then, we have comments and suggestions from citizens present. Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Motion by Kilps,
Second.
second by Schmid. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you, everyone.